What if the life you're meant to live is the one you were warned against? Beat. Ann Bannon's I Am a Woman ignites that daring question with every turning page. Awakening in Greenwich Village. Laura Landon flees the suffocating conventions of 1950s suburbia and a disastrous affair with her college professor. Beat. She steps off the bus into Greenwich Village, a neighbourhood humming with jazz, smoky cafes, and untold possibility. Beat. Here, strangers dress how they please, men hold hands, women laugh loudly without apology. Beat. The city's rhythm thrums inside Laura, pulling her towards something unnamed, yet urgently, emphasis real. Jack Mann becomes her first guide. Beat. Jack is witty, sharp, and unmistakably gay, though the word is whispered more than spoken. Beat. Through Jack, Laura glimpses a hidden network of bars and walk-ups where queer people gather after dark, clinging to one another for safety and recognition. Beat. Each night out is both liberation and risk. A police raid or a hostile stare could shatter their fragile freedom. Beat. In this feverish atmosphere, Laura's own desires surface. Beat. Memories of sorority crushes she brushed aside return with startling clarity. Beat. When she meets the magnetic Beebo Brinker, tall, leather-jacketed, defiantly androgynous, those stirrings crystallize. Beat. Beebo's swagger shows Laura it is possible to want a woman openly, to name the desire and still breathe. Beat. Yet possibility carries a price. Beat. The village promises awakening, but it also exposes Laura to a world where rejection can be fatal and self-loathing seeps in through every cracked doorway. Beat. Still, in the glow of neon signs and cigarette tips, Laura whispers to herself a vow. She will not retreat. Beat. She will find out who she is, no matter the cost. Secrets, shame, and self-discovery. Laura's first kiss with Beebo is electric and terrifying. Beat. It erases years of denial, yet floods her with dread about being discovered. Beat. At work, she dons the mask of the polite secretary. At night, she clings to Beebo's leather collarbones, tasting freedom mixed with fear. Beat. Ann Bannon paints secrecy as a double-edged sword. It shelters and it strangles. Beat. Laura and Beebo develop coded language. Meeting for coffee means slipping into dim apartments where curtains stay drawn. Beat. They celebrate birthdays at 3 a.m. when the city's gaze turns away. Beat. The reader feels every heart-pounding moment before a locked door clicks shut. Beat. Yet shame is not only external. Beat. Raised on Midwestern respectability, Laura fights internalized homophobia. Beat. She revisits her mother's warnings about girls who lose their way and feels the weight of an entire culture calling her deviant. Beat. Whenever Beebo's touch sends heat through her veins, a mirror in her mind reflects sin instead of love. Beat. The novel's brilliance lies in how it threads that conflict through everyday life. Beat. A simple phone call from Laura's father, asking when she will settle down, detonates her carefully arranged dual identity. Beat. After hanging up, Laura weeps, not for disappointing him, but for realizing she can never explain the fullness of her emphasis, heart. Beat. In this section of the story, Bannon shows that discovery is not a light switch moment, but a relentless, spiraling journey. Beat. Each step toward authenticity requires another step through fear. Beat. The crucible of secrecy burns away Laura's illusions, forging a self that is fragile, yet unmistakably her own. Love tested by society. Laura and Beebo attempt to build a life together, renting a cramped walk-up with peeling paint and a single window facing brick. Beat. Domesticity is tender at first. Beebo cooks chili. Laura buys second-hand curtains covered in sunflowers. Beat. But the outside world presses hard against those thin walls. Beat. Bills pile up. Beat. Beebo loses her bar job after a straight customer complains about that man in a skirt behind the counter. Beat. Landlords threaten eviction once they suspect the nature of the women's relationship. Beat. Friends vanish overnight, arrested in bar raids or forced into sham marriages. Beat. Tension breeds within the couple. Beat. Beebo begins drinking heavily, her swagger turning brittle. Beat. Laura, frightened of poverty and police, pleads with Beebo to act normal in public. Beat. The request slices Beebo's spirit. Acting normal means denying her very being. Beat. A pivotal scene erupts during a Thanksgiving visit to Jack Mann's apartment. Beat. Surrounded by fellow queer friends sharing makeshift turkey legs, conversation turns to the possibility of moving to Paris, where gay life is rumoured to be freer. Beat. Beebo lights a cigarette, eyes blazing, and declares she will never again beg for space to exist. Beat. Laura feels pride and terror in equal measure. Beat. Shortly after, a police raid on their favourite bar leaves Beebo bruised and jailed overnight. Beat. The incident wedges silence between the lovers. Beat. Laura questions whether love alone can survive systemic hate. Beat. Bannon forces readers to confront the cruel calculus queer couples performed daily. Is this affection worth the danger? Beat. Ultimately, love is tested not only by external oppression, but by the internal scars that oppression carves. Beat. Laura and Beebo must decide whether to cling to each other amid the storm or seek separate shelters in hopes of survival. Beat. The novel underscores a haunting truth. Sometimes the greatest threat to love is the fear society plants inside those who dare to hold hands. Claiming identity and imagining the future. In the final act, Laura reaches a crossroads. Beat. After a night of explosive argument, Beebo disappears, leaving only a note. Find the life you deserve. Beat. Laura wanders the winter streets, snow swirling like static around her thoughts. Beat. She feels abandoned, yet strangely light, as if the choice to define her own path has been abruptly thrust into her palms. Beat. Jack introduces her to Molly, an older lesbian who has survived decades of clandestine living. Beat. Over coffee, Molly explains that identity is a marathon, not a sprint. Each generation pushes the boundary a little farther so the next can breathe easier. Beat. Her words become Laura's quiet mantra. Beat. Laura decides to travel home for Christmas, not to renounce her life, but to reclaim it on her terms. Beat. She sits at her childhood dinner table and tells her mother she will not marry a man. Beat. The confession detonates the household, yet Laura notices a remarkable detail. She is still standing. Beat. Shame has no power once you refuse to carry it. Beat. Returning to New York, Laura does not resume her relationship with Beebo, but she does not erase it either. Beat. She packs their sunflower curtains into a suitcase and takes a new apartment overlooking Washington Square Park, symbolically keeping the past while facing forward. Beat. The novel ends with Laura stepping into the village dusk, hearing laughter spill from a nearby bar, and smiling. Beat. Ann Bannon's closing message is both simple and radical for its era. The act of naming oneself is an act of rebellion. Beat. Laura may still face discrimination, but she owns her narrative now. Beat. The future is unwritten, yet it finally feels like hers to write, letter by uncompromising letter. Beat. In that quiet victory, readers witness the birth of a woman who refuses invisibility and invites us to do the same, whatever identities we claim.